Deep in the Ethiopian highlands, where monks chant psalms that predate Christ, a secret has been guarded for 2,000 years, the true name of Lucifer, preserved in forbidden texts. This revelation doesn't just alter history, it reshapes your understanding of evil, free will, and the cosmic battle for souls. For centuries, councils burned these manuscripts, but in remote monasteries, scribes risked everything to keep the truth alive. Now that truth is emerging, and it changes everything. Are you ready to learn what was hidden from you? You're about to enter a story they tried to erase. Picture this. In the silence of an Ethiopian monastery, a monk unrolls a parchment so old it crackles with the weight of ages. He whispers a name that was never meant to reach your ears. For generations, this knowledge was locked away, deemed too dangerous, too heretical for the world to know. Why? Because Lucifer's real name isn't what you were taught. It's not a title or a metaphor. It's a key that unlocks the entire fallen angel narrative, revealing a cosmic scandal buried by centuries of dogma. The real name changes everything, and from this moment forward, your understanding of good and evil will never be the same. They didn't want you to know, but here you are, on the threshold. If something in you recognizes this truth and you want more revelations like this, leave a comment and stay with this story. Until the end, your reaction tells me to keep opening these doors for you. Now, listen closely. The silence is about to break. To understand this revelation, you must first step into the world that preserved it. Imagine the Ethiopian highlands, a landscape of jagged mountains and deep gorges, where monasteries cling to cliffs like fortresses of faith. Here, Christianity arrived in the 1st century, weaving itself into the fabric of a culture that never forgot its ancient roots. While Rome edited scriptures and burned apocrypha, Ethiopian monks copied texts by candlelight, preserving books that elsewhere were turned to ash. They guarded the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and other secret testimonies that contain angelic histories too raw for the sanitized canon. You stand in a lineage of seekers who refuse to let truth die. But why here? Why did Ethiopia become the vault for heaven's forbidden secrets? The answer lies in a covenant older than the church, a direct thread to Solomon and Sheba, to Ark and Angel. They didn't want you to know how deep this goes. And as you sense the weight of this hidden context, remember, the real name changes everything. But before the name, there was a cosmos in perfect order, and that order was about to shatter. Before the fall, there was a celestial architecture so glorious it defies imagination. Picture the heavenly realm, hierarchies of angels, each with a purpose, a name, a sphere of influence. At the pinnacle stood the morning star Lucifer, the bearer of light, entrusted with divine radiance. In Ethiopian texts, this isn't a vague symbol, it's a detailed cosmology where every angel has a role, a station, a secret name that holds power. You were made for this truth, to see beyond the simplified tales of devil and demon. Here, angels walked between stars, sung creation into being, and mirrored God's glory. But pride is a subtle poison. The Shining One began to covet not just worship, but the very throne of heaven. The invisible architecture trembled. The real name changes everything because it reveals the precise moment when light twisted into shadow. They didn't want you to know the complexity of this rebellion. Why? Because if angels can fall from such heights, what does that say about free will, about the fragility of glory? The stage is set. The rupture is coming, and when it does, you'll witness why this name had to be hidden. The rupture was not a sudden crash, but a slow, seeping betrayal. In the Book of Enoch, preserved only in Ethiopia, you see it unfold. 200 angels, led by their chiefs, look upon the daughters of men and desire them. They descend to Mount Hermon, swear an oath and corrupt the earth. But the leader, the one you call Lucifer, is named differently here. His real name is whispered in these scrolls, Samyaza, or in other versions, Azazel. This isn't the caricature of evil. This is a tragic fall from grace, a rebellion rooted in envy and lust. You feel it, don't you? The horror of angels trading heaven for flesh, of divine beings sowing chaos on earth. The real name changes everything because it personalizes the fall, making it not just a myth, but a history written in blood and desire. They didn't want you to know that Lucifer's rebellion was multifaceted, involving many angels with specific names and crimes. Why hide this? Because detailed testimony implicates more than just a symbolic develite, reveals a systemic collapse. And as the angels fell, they left behind a legacy of giants, violence, and a world drowning in sin. But the aftermath was even worse. After the fall, the earth groaned under the weight of angelic corruption. Giants Nephilim roamed the land, born of union between angels and humans, bringing violence and despair. The cosmos itself wept, and God's judgment was swift, a flood to cleanse and chains to bind the fallen ones in darkness. But in the chaos, a witness emerged. Enoch, the scribe of righteousness, who walked with God and recorded the full account. His testimony, preserved in Ethiopia, details the names, the crimes, the punishments. You're reading a leaked celestial report, a divine indictment that was almost lost. The real name changes everything because it connects Lucifer to a broader conspiracy of fallen angels, each with a role in humanity's corruption. They didn't want you to know how extensive the fall was, how deep the infection ran. Why? Because if evil is systemic, then redemption must be equally vast. The aftermath left scars on creation, but also a hope. The truth survived in hidden scrolls, and those scrolls were about to find their keepers in the most unexpected place. The primary evidence is here, in your hands, the Book of Enoch. While Western Bibles exclude it, Ethiopian Bibles enshrine it as scripture. Imagine holding a manuscript copied by monks who believed every word was sacred, every name a key to understanding the spiritual war. In Enoch's visions, you meet the fallen angels by name, Samyaza, Azazel, and others, revealing a facet of Lucifer's rebellion. The real name changes everything because it shifts Lucifer from a solitary figure to a leader of a host, with Azazel often bearing the blame for teaching forbidden arts. You were made for this truth. These texts describe the Watchers, their oath on Mount Hermon, their descent into corruption. They didn't want you to know that Lucifer's identity is intertwined with these names, that the fall was a collective sin. Why suppress this? Because it complicates the neat narrative of good versus evil, showing ambiguity in heaven's court. But the evidence doesn't stop with Enoch. There are other testimonies, equally explosive, waiting in the shadows. Hidden testimony abounds in Ethiopian Apocrypha. The Book of Jubilees expands the story, detailing how fallen angels, led by Master May, another name, linked to Lucifer, continued to tempt humanity. The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's national epic, ties these angelic falls to the lineage of Solomon and the Ark of the Covenant. You're piecing together a mosaic of forbidden knowledge where each text adds another layer to the scandal. The real name changes everything because it appears in multiple sources, corroborated across centuries. They didn't want you to know that these texts were widely read in early Christianity, only to be purged by later councils. Why? Because they revealed a heaven in turmoil, a God who judges angels, and a messianic promise that includes the redemption of the fallen. You sense the weight of this hidden library, don't you? It's a testament to a truth too potent to be contained. And against all odds, it survived not in Rome or Constantinople, but in the desert monasteries of Ethiopia. But who were the keepers of this flame? The keepers were Ethiopian monks, ascetics, who saw themselves as guardians of a sacred trust. For generations, in monasteries like Debre Damo and Gundagunde, they copied Enoch and other apocrypha onto parchment, hiding them from invaders and inquisitors. They believed that preserving these names was a divine mandate, a way to keep the full story of salvation alive. You were made for this truth. Their devotion was a quiet rebellion against a church that had forgotten its roots. They didn't want you to know how close we came to losing this knowledge. Why? Because the keepers risked everything, knowing that the real name changes everything. If you feel that you were made for this kind of hidden truth, write in the comments what most shook you so far, and share this video with one person who also hungers for more. Your voice helps this buried story reach the ones who need it. These monks held the line, and their legacy whispers to you now. But their secret couldn't stay hidden forever. A discovery was coming that would shake the foundations of biblical scholarship. The modern discovery began in the 18th century, when European explorers brought Ethiopian manuscripts to the West. Scholars were stunned. Here was the complete Book of Enoch, long thought lost, preserved in Ge'ez, the ancient language of Ethiopia. Then came the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947. Fragments of Enoch in Aramaic, proving its antiquity and widespread use. You're witnessing an academic bombshell. Lucifer's real name, embedded in these texts, was now undeniable. The real name changes everything because it forces a re-evaluation of angelology, demonology, and the origins of evil. They didn't want you to know that mainstream theology had ignored this evidence for centuries. Why? Because it challenges doctrinal certainties, suggesting that early Christians knew a more complex story. As scholars pieced together the puzzle, the name Azazel or Samyaza emerged as central to the fall. But what does this name mean? The deeper truth is even more startling. The deeper truth lies in the meaning of the name. In Ethiopic tradition, Azazel means God of strength or scapegoat, a paradox that captures the angel's dual nature, once mighty, now bearing sin. Samyaza means the one who sees the name, hinting at forbidden knowledge. This isn't just semantics, it's theology in a word. The real name changes everything because it reveals Lucifer not as a mere adversary, but as a tragic figure whose fall was about overreaching, about desiring to be like God in the wrong way. You were made for this truth. They didn't want you to know that evil has a history, a personality, a name that humanizes it, making the spiritual war more intimate and more terrifying. Why hide this? Because if Lucifer has a real name, then he was once a beloved creation, and that complicates our view of redemption. It implies that even the fallen might be remembered, that grace might extend beyond our imagination. But this isn't just ancient history. This is about you right now. Your calling emerges from this revelation. Knowing Lucifer's real name isn't about occult curiosity. It's about understanding the nature of rebellion and resilience in your own soul. You face temptations, pride, falls, and this story mirrors that. The real name changes everything because it teaches that even the highest can fall, but also that truth survives against all odds. They didn't want you to know that you're part of this cosmic drama, that your choices echo in the heavenly realms. Why? Because empowered with this knowledge, you can resist evil with greater awareness, seeing it not as a monster but as a fallen brother, a warning. You were made for this truth. It's a call to vigilance, to compassion, to guarding the light within. But don't just take my word for it. The evidence is etched in stone and ink, waiting for you to see. Physical traces abound in Ethiopia. Visit Lalibela's rock-hewn churches, where angels are carved into portals, whispering secrets to those who listen. In monastery libraries, manuscripts date back centuries, with Enoch's words barely faded. Archaeologists have found inscriptions linking to angelic names, proving this wasn't just legend. You can almost touch the parchment, feel the devotion of the scribes. The real name changes everything because it's not just text, it's embodied in a culture that never forgot. They didn't want you to know that these places exist, that the proof is tangible. Why? Because seeing is believing, and belief can overturn empires. You stand at the edge of a heritage that connects you directly to the Watchers and their fall. But not everyone wanted this heritage to survive. Opposition was fierce and systematic. The opposition came from church councils that declared Enoch apocryphal, from theologians who labeled it heretical, from powers that burned manuscripts to maintain control. In the 4th century, councils like Laodicea banned the Book of Enoch, fearing its angelic revelations would confuse the faithful. They didn't want you to know that Lucifer's real name was in these texts because it gave too much power to the narrative of fall and redemption. The real name changes everything, and that scared them. Why? Because knowledge is power, and suppressed knowledge is the ultimate control. You're uncovering a conspiracy of silence that lasted millennia, but the truth has a way of leaking out through monks, mystics, and now through you. Now you know what they feared. The question is, what will you do with this truth? Your decision is urgent. Will you accept this revelation? Let it reshape your spirituality. Will you share it, breaking the silence that has held humanity back? The real name changes everything, and it's now in your hands. They didn't want you to know, but you do. You were made for this truth. This isn't just about Lucifer, it's about reclaiming a lost heritage of sacred knowledge. If this journey is opening your eyes, and you want me to keep bringing dangerous sacred stories like this, tell me in the comments what changed for you, and follow this channel. Your presence here is the sign to continue uncovering what they tried to bury. The stakes are eternal. Your choice ripples through the cosmic story. But before you decide, there's one final revelation: the name itself and what it truly means. The final unveiling, Lucifer's real name, preserved by Ethiopian monks, is Azazel, or in some traditions, Samyaza. This name isn't a title, it's an identity that means God of strength, or the one who sees, revealing a being who once held divine power but fell by misusing it. The real name changes everything because it reframes evil as a perversion of good, a tragedy, rather than a mere villainy. It shows that the fall was about knowledge, desire, and the fragile boundary between light and shadow. You were made for this truth. They didn't want you to know because it humanizes the demonic, making the spiritual war more complex and more personal. But now you know. This revelation calls you to a deeper faith, one that embraces the full story, the hidden texts, the suppressed histories, the names that were almost lost. Carry this truth. Let it transform how you see evil, how you seek light, and how you walk your path. The real name changes everything, and so can you.